And hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm George Thomas.
And I'm Charlene Israel. Today, President Obama and other world leaders gather in Russia for the G20 summit. Syria is not officially on the agenda, but it's expected to dominate discussions. And back home, debate continues on whether the U.S. should intervene. A tense moment for President Obama today as he faces off with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Putin backs the Assad regime and says the U.S. is lying about Syria's use of chemical weapons. He's warned President Obama not to take action in Syria without UN approval.
Only the UN Security Council could sanction the use of force against a sovereign state.
But the U.S. moves forward with its plans to punish Syria. President Obama monitoring the votes of lawmakers here at home and calling for a strong international response. At the same time, he's also trying to step back from his red line declaration that started him on the path to a U.S. strike.
I didn't set a red line. The world set a red line. The world set a red line when governments representing 98% of the world's population said the use of chemical weapons are abhorrent and passed a treaty forbidding their use even when countries are engaged in war.
Back in Washington, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee passed a resolution that would give the president the authority to strike Syria. But it's still unclear whether it can pass the full Senate or House. Wednesday, Secretary of State John Kerry tried to convince House members to vote yes.
The world is wondering whether the United States of America is going to consent through silence to stand aside while this kind of brutality is allowed to happen without consequence.
But some say it's already too late. Conservative writer John Fund slammed Obama for his, quote, pattern of indecisiveness. Fund wrote in National Review Online, Washington is abuzz with talk about how much President Obama has damaged America's credibility with his indecisiveness on Syria. Meanwhile, skepticism is still coming from both Democrats and Republicans.
I don't believe that we should have given up so easily on using the United Nations.
We haven't given up.
Us. Yes, we have.
I see a horrible tragedy, but I don't see that our involvement will lessen the tragedy.
Meanwhile, in Syria, the brutal fighting continues. Al-Qaeda-linked rebels attacked a Christian village held by the Assad regime.
The head of Egypt's powerful interior ministry has survived an assassination attempt. Muhammad Ibrahim's convoy came under attack when a nearby car exploded, reportedly set off by remote control. Ibrahim was driving through Cairo's Nasser city when the bomb went off. This area is a well-known Muslim Brotherhood stronghold and a site of a major police crackdown on Brotherhood supporters. Ibrahim is in charge of Egypt's police force.
A growing number of Americans are worried about protecting their privacy online. According to new research by the Pew Center poll, 50% of Internet users are concerned there is too much information about them that can be found on the web. That's up from 33% in 2009, and 86% of Internet users have tried to block others from tracking their online activity. Most said they're trying to protect their information from hackers, cyber criminals, and advertisers. Others are trying to keep information from family members, employers, or the government.
A ruling is expected soon in the case of a Pennsylvania county clerk who issued same-sex marriage licenses in violation of state law. That state defines marriage as between a man and a woman. Back in July, the Montgomery County Register defied the law and started issuing licenses to dozens of homosexual couples. State attorneys argue that the register overstepped its authority in issuing the licenses.
This is a question of whether a local official, any local official anywhere in Pennsylvania, can simply take action based on their own personal opinion, regardless of the topic.
Well, the judge questioned how government would work if a local official ignored other laws on issues like polygamy or gun permits for felons.
The San Antonio City Council is expected to vote today on amendments to its non-discrimination code. The ordinance would include protections for sexual orientation and gender identity. Conservatives and Christian leaders oppose the measure. The San Antonio Human Rights Coalition says the measure punishes people of faith by violating their rights of conscience and speech. For example, Christians could be blocked from working for the city if they have a biblical view on homosexuality or marriage.
And joining us now with more is Chris Plant of the National Organization for Marriage. Chris, great to have you on the broadcast. Listen, what's the main concern with this non-discrimination measure in San Antonio? What are you most worried about?
The proposed measure in San Antonio will be a major problem for people of faith who stand for marriage as one man and one woman. We've seen where people of faith who stand for marriage as one man and one woman are labeled as discriminatory. And this proposed measure says that if you have ever allegedly discriminated against homosexuals, gays, and lesbians, you're to be excluded from working with the city government, or if you have a contract with the city, you can no longer have a contract.
Is there a solution, Chris, for the San Antonio measure that could protect the rights of those who, who believe that homosexuality is a sin?
Absolutely. We have to understand that gays and lesbians have the right to live as they choose. They deserve the dignity and nobility of all human beings. But we also have to understand that we have a First Amendment right to the free exercise of our religion. And we cannot be painted into a corner as bigots or discriminatory simply because we believe that God created marriage as one man and one woman. It violates the Constitution of the United States. It violates the Constitution of Texas. So we need to find that people of faith should be allowed to speak in the public square what their faith teaches them.
And speaking about people who believe that this is a sin, in the nationwide battle over gay marriage and gay rights, do you think more religious rights are at risk today?
They're absolutely at risk. The National Organization for Marriage for years has said that freedom of religion will be one of the first casualties of redefining marriage. And this is what we're seeing in San Antonio. We're seeing it in Oregon and even in New Mexico, where we have a wedding photographer who has been told by the Supreme Court of that state that you must compromise, that the people of faith must compromise, even though it's going to cost you your living, your ways of making a living for your family. And this is wrong. It's backwards. People of faith are protected by the First Amendment. Gays and lesbians who want to find a photographer, there are plenty of photographers or bakeries who will serve them. So they're the ones who should be the ones to compromise. It's a very difficult situation. It's a conflict we've seen coming. The really only answer is to not redefine marriage and understand that God created it for a purpose, to bring the halves of humanity together and to raise the next generation.
Okay, I have a feeling that we will be doing more of these kinds of stories in the weeks and months ahead. Chris Plant of the National Organization for Marriage. Sir, thank you so much for your insights on this very important subject.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
The quest to remove God and prayer from government continues nationwide. In New Mexico, the Freedom from Religion Foundation wants the Albuquerque Police Department to get rid of its chaplains unit. The group says it is unconstitutional and discriminates against those with no religion. In Virginia, members of the Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors are fighting a ruling that bars them from opening meetings with prayer. The ruling is part of a 2011 lawsuit filed by the American Civil Rights Union. The board will ask an appeals court to put a hold on the ruling until the U.S. Supreme Court decides a similar case in New York.
A Rhode Island man is suing to silence the church bells in his neighborhood. John Devaney says the bells from a nearby Catholic church disturb his peace and were a reason his marriage ended in divorce. The 64-year-old wants the federal government to reduce the amount of times the bells ring. The bells were installed 6 years after he bought his home. The church says they have the right to ring the bells. Religious institutions are exempt from city noise ordinances.
Coming up, made in Israel, how a plot of dirt in the desert turned into the land of milk and honey. See how this tiny country is feeding the world next.
Today we're on a field trip to discover what inflation is doing to our paper money. In this hand is a $20 bill and in this hand is a $20 US gold coin. They used to have the same buying power, but how much can they buy today? In this first basket is what my $20 bill buys: milk, bread, peanut butter, and jelly. And here's what one $20 gold coin will buy: 6 baskets full, worth nearly $2,000, almost 100 times more food, simply by owning gold dollars instead of paper dollars. History shows that the gold coins have been the best way to beat the rising cost of living. So class, the moral is that unless you want to live on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the future, you should turn some paper dollars into gold coins now. How and why is explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. Call the number below for a totally free copy. And that's the simple truth.
Help! If an emergency happened right now, you can have help at the push of a button with Medical Alert.
Remember when I took that fall, Mary?
Oh, yes, that was terrible.
Yes, it was.
Help!
And I thought, what if you hadn't been there? I ordered my Medical Alert the next day.
I can't describe how safe I feel now with my Medical Alert. You didn't know I was wearing it, did you?
Medical Alert is easy to install, waterproof, and covers you inside your home and out.
It helps me feel safe from fires, break-ins.
And of course, a Medical Alert. And if you don't have a home phone, don't worry. They have that covered.
There's always help at the push of a button. Don't wait till you need it.
Get Medical Alert for less than $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts. Order now and get your second button free. Call for your free brochure.
For your free Medical Alert system with second button free, call 800-575-8507.
Billionaire investor Warren Buffett once called Israel the most promising investment hub outside of the United States.
Per capita, the Jewish state has produced more cutting-edge technologies than any other country on earth. Today, we'll look at how technology in agriculture is making the desert bloom in Israel and around the world.
In 1867, Mark Twain toured the land of Israel, known back then as Palestine. Here's how he described it: a desolate country whose soil is rich enough, but is given over wholly to weeds, a silent, mournful expanse. There was hardly a tree or a shrub anywhere. Palestine sits in sackcloth and ashes, desolate and unlovely. Today, Mark Twain wouldn't even recognize this land. Out of rocky soil, out of swamps, and even out of deserts, Israelis have created gardens, vineyards, and farms with some of the most innovative techniques in the world.
It was just this country with incredible dynamism and energy and excitement and food and people and a sense of family and ultimately a sense of belonging.
It's been said that the modern state of Israel was born on the kibbutz. So it's only natural that much of Israel's innovation was born there as well.
The kibbutz is the cornerstone in a lot of ways of a lot of things in Israeli society.
People came back wanting to create a collective and an equal society. And these kibbutzim became a very, very effective way to defend the land, to start getting young people engaged in agriculture. Remember, Jews were forbidden in most countries of the world to actually own land or to work the land. Jews couldn't be farmers. To all of a sudden see a generation of Jews farming the land in a collective environment, it was incredible.
Before Israel even became a state, Jews by the thousands came to live there on communal farms. But when they arrived in the Promised Land, it wasn't exactly flowing with milk and honey. The coastal plains were swampy, the Galilee and the Judean hills were rocky, and the southern half of the country was mostly desert.
Since the people of Israel left our homeland 2,000 years ago, the area was mismanaged. So we want to preserve and rehabilitate this holy land.
The early Jewish settlers faced a number of obstacles, from bad soil to Bedouin raiders. But they faced an even bigger enemy that threatened to destroy the Jewish state before it began. In the early decades of the 20th century, Israel was a breeding ground for mosquitoes carrying malaria. They overtook the coastal plains and the Jordan Valley, the only land available for Jews to buy since the local Arabs had decided it was uninhabitable. In 1920, more than a third of all Jewish residents of Palestine had malaria. So with no other choice, they went to work. They drained the swamps and sprayed the land and changed the flow of water in irrigation canals to interrupt the mosquitoes' breeding. They were so successful that a commission from the League of Nations visited Palestine to learn what they did. Less than 20 years after Israel's statehood, the country was officially malaria-free. Once the threat of malaria was gone, Jewish settlers were free to focus on making the desert bloom. In the coastal plains, citrus groves replaced the swamps. And the Jordan Valley, once the center of the malaria epidemic, now became the country's breadbasket. The Negev desert blossomed with newly planted forests and vineyards. And the Arava, once the most arid part of Israel, became the site of a flourishing vegetable industry. All of this was accomplished in the first 20 years of Israel's statehood. In that time, they more than doubled their standard of living. And now they're using their experience to help other countries. In the 1970s, they created a new breed of cherry tomato that's disease-resistant and has a longer shelf life. They also bred a new kind of potato that can be grown in hot, dry climates and irrigated by salt water. These vegetables are now being grown in dry countries like Jordan, Egypt, and Morocco. Israeli scientists not only found ways to grow more crops, they also found new ways to preserve them. Grain Pro cocoons provide an inexpensive way for farmers to keep their grain market fresh by keeping out water, air, and insects. The Israeli cocoons are being used in Africa, the Far East, and even Pakistan, a nation with no diplomatic ties to Israel.
Up next, exporting Israeli ingenuity. See how Israel's creative solutions for fighting pests and growing crops are now helping the world. The conclusion of our report is just ahead.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Israeli innovation has brought the deserts to life, cultivating crops from wasteland.
Yeah, Israel's agricultural solutions began decades ago on small Jewish farms, but now they've gone global, exported from the kibbutz to bless the world. Here again is CBN's Gordon Robertson with the conclusion of our report.
The kibbutz over time began to change. Israeli society began to change, became more capitalistic, became more focused on free enterprise and entrepreneurship and the individual taking responsibility for himself and therefore benefiting the overall society. There have been many very exciting companies that have been built in kibbutzim.
One of those companies is now doing business around the world.
If you went to the average Israeli 10, 12 years ago and said to them organic, they wouldn't have a clue what you were talking about. Here we've been doing organic farming for over 40 years.
Kibbutz Shtei Eliyahu was founded by German refugees in 1934, and many of their early members were survivors of the Holocaust.
The biggest problem that we had when we started the organic was, what do you do if you're not using chemicals? How do you get rid of the pests?
Their answer was to fight bugs with more bugs.
Every single thing in nature has a natural enemy. What eats or what attacks these pests that are attacking our crops?
They started breeding different insects in the bomb shelter of the kibbutz. The idea was to breed predators to destroy the pests that ate their crops. The result was a new company called BioBee.
We went to the Israeli farmers. We said, "You want to buy some bugs?" They said, "What are you, crazy? We don't have enough bugs in the field. You want us to buy bugs?"
Eventually, they won over farmers in Israel and in 32 other countries as well. In California, 60% of the strawberry fields are treated with products from BioBee. The company also found a way to deal with one of the region's most devastating insects, the Mediterranean fruit fly.
We take the males of the species and we sterilize them. And then we release the sterile males into the environment. There's no future generation. And slowly, slowly, we lower the population without using harmful chemicals.
They also solved another agricultural problem: how to pollinate greenhouse plants.
The classic example we like to give is tomato plants. Tomato plants in nature, in the fields, are pollinated by the wind. In Israel, the majority of our tomatoes are not grown in the fields. They're grown in greenhouses. And in greenhouse, in a climate-controlled environment, you don't have that wind, you don't have the natural pollination. We had to find other methods of pollination.
Their solution was to breed bumblebees.
They collect pollen for food. They have to go and work even in cold weather conditions. They don't have stores of honey in the hive. They have to go and work. We're saving the farmer money because instead of paying people, the bees are doing the work. And the bees, unlike people, they don't miss a single flower. So once the farmers started using the bees for pollination, the yield of the tomato crops increased by 25%. In Hebrew, we say, "Ma rabu ma'asech Elokim," you know, how great and wonderful are creations, God. And this really shows that every single thing has a reason. There's a purpose for everything, these tiny little things, and look how much good they do for us, for the world, for the farmers, for the environment. It's really, really amazing.
Farmers at Shtei Eliyahu not only targeted insects, they also found a creative way to get rid of rodents as well.
What we used to do is basically used to take poison in a bottle, in a teaspoon, and somebody's job was to walk up and down the rows, and every time they saw a mouse hole, to take a teaspoon of poison and throw it down the hole. Now, obviously that's not ecologically friendly. On top of that, if it rains or if we irrigate our fields, all that poison's going in the grounds. So we said, what is a natural solution to rodents? And the natural solution that we found is the barn owl. The barn owl is an amazing raptor. 2 owls can capture an average of 2,000 to 5,000 mice a year. Okay, that's a lot of rodents.
There was just one problem with the owls.
They fly away. And one of the places they would fly to is Jordan, which is very close by. In Jordan, they were shooting them. In Arab folklore, the barn owl is a harbinger of death. And they're very superstitious about barn owls. So they see in a barn owl, they shoot it. So very simply, we went to Jordan and we invited the Jordanian farmers to come to Shtei Eliyahu to see what we were doing here. This was over 20 years ago. And today we have over 2,600 nesting boxes across the country. The numbers keep growing. But also it's become a wonderful program of regional cooperation, also with Jordan, also with the Palestinian Authority. This has been an amazing, amazing success story. We tell the people it's not the dove bringing peace anymore to the Middle East, it's the barn owl. We're a light unto the nations, we're supposed to be anyways. If we want to really save the environment, if we really want to help the world, then we can't keep these things to ourselves. We have to share these things, we have to share this knowledge, and I think by helping others, we're helping ourselves as well.
A light unto other nations. Incredible what they're doing around the world.
Absolutely fascinating, and you're not going to see these stories
anywhere else. Hey, and we have more of these productions in the days and weeks to come.
I anticipate watching them.
That's right. Stay with us, folks. We'll be back right after this.
When you're driving along and your cell phone rings, do your eyes instantly go off the road? Then you need to get a grip. Hi, David Jones here with the new Grip Go, the most versatile hands-free mount that will instantly grip any phone for safe driving. Just attach the suction cup to your windshield or dash, and Grip Go grabs your phone ultra fast. Then it peels right off. And don't worry, there's no sticky residue left behind. The 360-degree pivoting mount allows you to always get the perfect viewing angle. It's even strong enough to grab and hold this expensive smartphone out the window. Yet it comes right off with ease. That's the advantage of Grip Go. You can get the amazing Grip Go with dashboard mount for only $14.95. We'll send you a second kit free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Get 2 complete Grip Go systems for just $14.95.
To order Grip Go for $14.95 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-709-5259 or order online at getgripgo.com.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Cultures across the world celebrate coming of age. The Jewish bar mitzvah remains one of the most recognizable traditions.
Yeah, the bar mitzvah takes place on the boy's 13th birthday. But at one recent celebration in Florida, the guest of honor was considerably older than that. Ivan Gabor's family surprised him on his 80th birthday. He's a Holocaust survivor. His 13th birthday, as you can imagine, came at a time when there was no cause for celebration. So Ivan's wife decided to give him his very own coming-of-age party.
It's for me. I am dreaming. Oh, this is real.
I thought he was going to faint.
His son spoke at the event, reading a letter from Ivan's father. Friends and family surrounded Ivan as he danced and laughed. The 80-year-old says he was thrilled to finally have the celebration he had longed for 67 years. It's awesome. That's
67
great.
years in the waiting.
Never too late to have a bar mitzvah.
Oh,
That's
I
right.
love it. Love it.
Good stuff.
Well, that's going to do it for now on CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com.
And by the way, you can tell us what you think about the stories you've seen today. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. We hope you will join us again next time. Have a great day, everyone, and God bless.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.